So a while back, I watched this video essay by a YouTuber called Mina Lee. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. I recommend watching that. That's kind of the inspiration for this video. And it got me thinking a lot about my relationship with social media and my phone, because it's just such a big part of my life and everyone's life. And I kind of hate that. So let's talk about why. It's a conclusion I've been coming to for obviously a long time now, that it's just hell living like this, having a phone addiction. It's not fun in any way, and it really is like serious. I feel like it's trivialized a lot more than it should be, but it's really bad. I feel like a big dividing line for me of when things started to change was after the pandemic, and I feel like I've seen sort of online spaces shift since then. I feel like that's when a lot of changes happened, and I think that event was the catalyst for those changes. Obviously, we were all stuck inside, so like we were going to be on our phones a lot anyway, but I think that meant that we were able to spend so much time sort of shaping what these online spaces are. But I noticed that September in 2020, when I went back to school, I noticed that I was way more engrossed in my phone, and so were other people around me, but I became a lot more reliant on it. Like I used it a lot in social situations where I felt uncomfortable, like I needed something to do, I would go on my phone. I feel like after the lockdown, when I went back to school, I maybe deleted TikTok for a while, but I immediately noticed that made it really hard for me to keep up a lot of the time with my friends. Like, I remember people having conversations and making jokes that I just couldn't understand, and I felt like they were speaking a completely different language. Even just by missing like a few weeks of being online, it felt like I was missing a leg. It was really hard to compensate for that, and it just kind of didn't really help me with feeling sort of left out, wanting to click with people. I mean, I started experiencing social anxiety around this time, so I was very desperate to sort of just appear normal and fit in. But when I couldn't keep up with random online jokes and things people were quoting and saying, it was really not helping with that isolation feeling. And in a way, I feel like that aspect has only gotten worse. I mean, not so much that I necessarily care about what other people are joking about, but I do feel like now, if you miss one day online, there's suddenly 10 new jokes that you don't understand. And oftentimes it's so hard to get to the root of a joke and actually understand where a random phrase is coming from. Like, I remember on Twitter, because I've sort of been on and off it now for a while, but I remember randomly I logged on one day and suddenly everyone is saying she turned 19 in Poland. What does that mean? It took me ages to actually find out what that meant, but it was everywhere. Because that's the other thing as well. I feel like jokes catch on now like wildfire. So it's really easy for something to be an obscure phrase and then suddenly it's everywhere. I also remember another point made in the video essay I mentioned before was that our humor is very irony based and reference based. With this like rise in irony culture, it kind of feels like our generation find it harder to take things seriously. I understand it to an extent, and I'm not going to sit here and act like it's not funny, because it is. I understand that a lot of the time we joke about things to cope with it. You know, we're the generation coming into the world with literally everything against us. There's a climate crisis, the economy is bad, like no one can buy houses, no one can afford anything. A lot of the time this generation simply just uses humor to cope with those facts. And I laugh at those TikToks and those tweets. They are funny. However, I do find it sometimes hard to like be serious about things. Like, I've noticed that even in myself, like I find it harder to have serious conversations without making jokes, because it's just kind of harder to sit in that space of like, this is serious. Not all the time, obviously, because there are some things that are wildly inappropriate to joke about. Yeah, I feel like it's really a huge thing in our generation just to be super unserious, which isn't necessarily a good thing all the time. Another thing that I am really disliking on the internet nowadays as well is the privacy element of it, in terms of keeping my, say, work and professional life away from my online life. On Instagram, I follow and am followed by lots of people I work with. Obviously, the company I work for has an Instagram. And again, because of where I work, like, it's public knowledge that I work there. Like, you can look up my name and see my face on my company website. I feel like back in the day, the internet used to be a really private place in terms of like, you could be like a Tumblr user and no one would know about it kind of thing, if that makes any sense. Like these places were away from everything in your real life. Like it was an escape and it was like this secret thing. And that's what made it kind of fun. Whereas now my real life is, my real life has seeped into my social media. It has with everyone. It's just kind of how things have shifted. But I don't like that to an extent because I feel like I have to sort of vet everything that I post because I don't know who might see it. And it has to be, I don't know, I have to think about who's seeing it on the other end and what they're going to think if they know me in real life and see the things I'm posting. And obviously that's not necessarily a bad thing. And I'm not someone who's going to post something wildly inappropriate on the internet. That's not the kind of content or posts I want to make. But I just don't like that there's no disconnect there. I sort of wish I could keep everything that I put on the internet away from everything that is in my real life. I kind of don't like that that's so overlapped. And with like following everyone on Instagram, it's nice to have like a way of connecting to people, but at the same time we have this need to keep tabs on everybody, which isn't really healthy. It's kind of adding to that whole thing of like all the information in the world being at like the tip of your finger and accessible all the time is not good for your brain. It's not good for us to always have accessibility to everyone we've ever met, you know. Another thing I'm not loving about social media is that it has ruined my perception of numbers completely. I always used to compare like counts, which, you know, it's just so juvenile and pointless. It doesn't matter. I would look at other people getting over 100 likes, which for me is kind of a rare thing, and just feel sad about it when really it's stupid. Because say, even if I just had 20 likes on a post, right? If there were 20 people in a room telling me that they liked something that I had put up, I would feel over the moon. I'd be blushing. Like, that would be lovely. On the flip side, imagine if you had 20 people in a room trying to beat you up. Like, that's a lot of people. It's not a healthy metric for comparing popularity and likability, etc. So I just want to do away with it completely. The final thing, obviously, is how much of my life I am wasting on my screen time. So I checked, and with my current screen time, just from my phone, I would spend 76 days continuously on my phone in a year. 76 days. Now, that's just on my phone. So if we take into account all the other screens that I have, I think it would probably be closer to 100. That's a hell of a lot of wasted time. When you look at it like that, I really am like, oh my God, I'm wasting my life. I'm wasting my life on this little piece of shit, this black glass box from hell. It doesn't matter. It doesn't hold any significance. It doesn't really enrich my life. I just need to learn to get out of this cycle. It's so hard to break. It's so hard to break. And everything's designed to make it hard to break, which is so frustrating. It's like trying to quit smoking, except everyone around you is smoking a cigarette and you live in the smoking area. It's impossible, but I need to do it. I've really questioned deleting my accounts completely, especially with Instagram. And then I'm like, oh, but what about my saved posts? What about my messages? Who cares? Like, there's a genocide happening right now. Who cares about my saved posts? It doesn't matter. It's not going to matter when I die. It's so deeply entrenched in my life and everyone else's. I just feel the need to break free from it, but it's so scary to sort of really commit to being like, I'm not going to be involved in this, but maybe I might just feel so much better if I do it. Will I ever be brave enough to delete the accounts? I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, that's all I wanted to talk about today. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next week with another video, hopefully. Yeah. All right. Ciao. Goodbye. Bless me. There's a really fucking loud motorbike out there.